Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Russ. Snow and ice dotting Montana roadways, leading to crashes across the state.
Most people walking away unharmed, but with one of the first substantial snowfalls in eastern Montana overnight, drivers are proving unprepared for these slick conditions.
Well, road crews and emergency responders were definitely busy this Christmas holiday, with at least 20 reported crash-related calls into Montana Highway Patrol dispatch in the last 24 hours, and that was just here in the Billings district. With several new inches of snow falling on the eastern side of the state, Montana Highway Patrol says troopers have not stopped responding to dozens of crashes and slide-offs. MHP reports this area of the state was the busiest, with single and multiple vehicle crashes reported over Christmas Day. One of those crashes involving a Montana Highway Patrol trooper who slid off a westbound exit ramp on Interstate 90 but was not injured. Now, we checked with the Montana Highway Patrol, and as it turns out, 2018 has fewer reported deadly crashes than 2017. So far this year, there are 177 deadly crashes reported on Montana roadways compared to 184 deadly crashes reported in 2017. Those numbers are even down from 2016, a downward trend troopers say is good to see. Turning to weather, Bob, as we've seen beneath all that snow is black ice, but how much snow have we gotten on top of it?
It depends on where you're at, but anywhere in the Billings area, about 3 to 4 inches of snow. And other places, let me show you, we had a lot of snow in places like 10 miles east of Molt had 5 inches of snow, 2 miles west of Kinsley had 4.3 inches, 1 mile north of Colstrip had 4 inches, Billings Heights had 3.8, the Billings Airport had 3.3. Now, if your travel plan, somebody may be coming back to work from vacation or something, there are no airport delays in Montana. That's good news, or actually in the western half of the United States. But right around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we had a 149-minute delay. That is, it looks like it's about to be issued. Actually, it's been canceled now, so looks like no problems now flying through the DFW airport. So good news. That was about a 2.5-hour delay, and now I guess things have finally got back together. Let's go back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. Reports of car windows getting shot out in a Billings South Side neighborhood has residents angered and concerned with a recent rash in vandalism. One car owner says the cost has totaled more than $800 to fix. Residents living in the area of South 33rd Street woke up Saturday to find their windows shot out with a BB or pellet gun. As many as 15 cars vandalized late Saturday night or early Sunday morning. But even with surveillance cameras pointed toward the street, there are no leads yet, so neighbors want to spread the awareness.
I guess I just want people to be aware, like, these things are going on, and I want everyone to work as a community to try to get this taken care of. Whether we have to do it ourselves or, you know, talk about it, be vocal about it, like, you know, go to your neighbor and talk to your neighbor, or whatever. Just share your information, know what's going on, and try to get whatever these people think that they're going to get away with to not let them get away, you know, because, like, I mean, we have cameras, we try to protect ourselves, but sometimes that still isn't good enough when it should be.
Also, in the area of Miles Avenue here in Billings, there are reports of slashed tires. One neighbor says she feels hopeless that no one will be caught. Authorities tell us if your vehicle or home are vandalized and there is not a suspect, your case is first directed to the Billings Crime Prevention Unit and they will follow up.
Montana's 2019 legislature convenes at the state capitol in less than 2 weeks, and state lawmakers have a full plate of issues to tackle. It is also the last regular session for Democratic Governor Steve Bullock, who once again faces a legislature with Republican majorities. This week, MTN chief political reporter Mike Dennison clues us in on the key topics of the 2019 session. He begins tonight with Medicaid expansion.
Just about everyone agrees the future of Montana's $600 million a year Medicaid expansion program will be the marquee issue of the 2019 legislature.
Medicaid expansion certainly is going to get a lot of attention in this session, there's no doubt about it.
The program provides government-funded health care to nearly 100,000 low-income adults, but is set to expire next June. In November, Montana voters rejected a ballot measure that would have extended the program and helped pay the state's share of the cost with higher tobacco taxes. That means lawmakers must now decide the program's fate. Governor Steve Bullock, a big supporter, says there should be no question about extending it.
Montanans have seen great successes. I mean, both with the number of people covered, also dropping our uninsured rate from 20% to 7%. The $300 million of new personal income that's been brought into our state. And we haven't lost one rural hospital.
GOP legislative leaders, most of whom voted against the expansion in 2015, say their caucus likely won't reject Medicaid expansion outright. But they say it needs more restrictions, both to reduce the cost and make sure those benefiting are truly in need.
I believe it needs to have a lot more sideboards put on it, asset tests, work requirements, quite possibly there could be a drug test put into it.
I believe we'll take a real hard look at how we can extend Medicaid in Montana, but not in its current form.
Governor Bullock is proposing a tobacco tax increase to help fund the state's $60 million a year share of the costs. Hertz says voters already rejected that idea. Bullock says he's willing to consider ideas on how to improve the program, but not overburden it.
What we've seen in some other states is it actually costs more to implement the work requirements and all the monitoring than it does to provide the benefits. So there's no reason that we should be putting more money on taxpayers to try to kick people off health insurance when we've seen great results in the state.
It looks like this issue is a long way from being settled. Medicaid expansion will also be right in the thick of the battle over the state budget, which is the subject of our next segment tomorrow. At the Capitol, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
In addition to this series, Mike's also producing this Sunday's edition of Face the State, which will have a lengthier discussion from the top political players on the upcoming session.
We are now into day 5 of the federal government shutdown. Here in Montana, visitors can still access trails, park roads, and lookouts at Bighorn Canyon, but if something life-threatening happens, emergency services will not be there. Due to the federal government shutdown, national parks remain accessible and laws and procedures still apply, but several services are out of commission. Also, there will be no park-provided visitor services at Bighorn Canyon, including campground service, maintenance, janitorial, or restroom services. Also, trash collection, facilities, programming, road maintenance, and plowing will not take place. Now, social media sites or websites will also not be monitored at the national parks due to the shutdown.
And evidence of the shutdown can be seen at Yellowstone National Park. Yellowstone will remain open. However, all government-run operations and facilities are closed. Entrance stations will not be staffed. Commercially and non-commercially guided snowmobile and snow coach trips will still be allowed. Now, the road from the park's north entrance at Gardner, Montana, through Mammoth Hot Springs to the northeast entrance at Cook City is open to wheeled vehicle travel. Visitors can access commercial services in the interior of the park. All administrative offices will be closed, and if conditions become unsafe, roads and developed areas in the park may be closed.
A Christmas surprise for the troops. The President and First Lady quietly left Washington Christmas night to meet with U.S. service members stationed in Iraq.
Mary Maloney has the details of the Trump's trip.
An enthusiastic welcome from U.S. troops to the commander-in-chief. The president and first lady traveled to the Al-Assad Air Base west of Baghdad in Iraq.
We came to Al-Assad to share our eternal gratitude for everything you do to keep America safe, strong, and free.
The trip shrouded in secrecy more than 15 years after the American invasion due to security concerns.
If you would have seen what we had to go through with the darkened plane, with all windows closed, with no lights on whatsoever, anywhere. Pitch black, I've never seen it. So did I have a concern? Yeah, I had a concern.
The Trumps remained on the ground for about 3 hours, posing for selfies, signing Make America Great Again hats, and thanking military members for their service.
The other reason I'm here today is to personally thank you and every service member throughout this region for the near elimination of the ISIS territorial caliphate in Iraq and in Syria.
While the president recently ordered a withdrawal of 14,000 U.S. troops in Afghanistan and a complete withdrawal of 2,000 troops from Syria, citing the destruction of ISIS, President Trump says he has no plans to pull troops from Iraq. Visiting troops overseas has become a presidential tradition. After the 2003 decision to invade Iraq, President George W. Bush visited the U.S. military stationed there 4 times. President Obama visited troops in Iraq once. Both men made multiple trips to Afghanistan. This trip is the first time President Trump visited troops in a war zone.
I want to just say great job.
I'm Mary Maloney reporting.
Coming up on tonight's 10 o'clock news, after a Christmas Eve plunge, the Dow started soaring again today. We're going to take a look at that.
Plus, we're marking the end of a tumultuous political year. We'll check out this year's political wrap-up.
Then later in sports, our countdown continues with one of the wildest football seasons Rocky has ever seen. Number 7 on our list of the top 10 sports stories just ahead.
You're watching MTN News with Jay Cohn and Jeanelle Slade. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.